Hey, it's Jason ODB. This is issue 75 of Mini Truckin Magazine. It's a great issue. Let's jump into it. I want to give a huge shout out to my wife for bringing this home from work. Eli Manning, not a Giants fan, especially after they beat the Packers, but pretty cool. Riddell mini helmet. So this is a great issue again, 75. Budnick had 9 cover vehicles with Budnick wheels on them. This is one. This is number 5 of 9, rather. Joe Musso's Toyota, really an epic build on so many proportions. This one does have the label. If you have this issue, let me know if this happened to you. Okay, I've owned 3 maybe issues of this one, possibly 3 or 4. And every single one of them, for whatever reason, on this issue, it seemed like the cover just rips off. It just does. And I think some of them, just the way the staple was or whatever. It doesn't concern me. I mean, I'd like to have one without it, but, you know, these go in sleeves, as you guys probably know. You probably have seen sometimes they're in those nice sleeves and they're in binders, so I can easily get to them all in order, of course. But March 98... just a truck. I can't wait to get to the centerfold. I mean, just one that I really envied for a very long time. There's a lot of detail in this truck. Beautiful model on the cover with the Nitto shirt on. Of course, Nitto, kind of a sponsor, I believe, of this truck. You can see it on the windshield banner there. 42,010 SoCal Jet Jam. I posted, I think, Jet Jam maybe once or twice to show coverage. It's a great one. The other thing I never really talked about is display till, 216.98. So, you know, in the magazine industry, these magazines would come out a month and a half, maybe even sometimes 2 months early. So that was always, and I'm sure it's still on current magazines. I never really look for it, but for anybody that's, you know, maybe younger, that was when, if they didn't sell, the supermarkets or whatever, they have, you know, the people come and the employees and they box them up, and I guess they would just go back. I don't know if anybody knows officially, you know, from the magazine industry, but I assume they just went back to the publisher and then they could do whatever, use them as back issues or whatever. Here you go, about 4 features there you see, and some tech. Events, you have Jet Jam 97. I think Jet Jam was only a few years, and I'm going by based upon what I saw in the magazines. What better vehicle to represent our special heavy body mod issue than Joe Musso's Suicide Door toy, photographed with the enchanting Nitto pinup girl, Michelle. And ace lensman Wes Allison captured the moment on location in southern Nevada desert. Now, Joe Musso, if I remember correctly, is from Vegas, but I would assume that they shot that at SEMA 97. We'd have to go back in coverage to kind of see, to verify if it was there, but knowing that nice of a truck, I'm assuming it was. So you have the editorial here. Remember Mike, body mods make the world go round. Rest in peace, Courtney Halliwell, right there. And you can see some of it there for anybody that wants to kind of screenshot. Remember, you could bump these up to 4K. I usually watch YouTube on my Apple TV, so the 4K piece, I don't even know if it's on 1080. I think most of our settings for YouTube are on automatic, so it adjusts based upon the bandwidth. But you know, many of you might be watching on your phone. If you need to screenshot something, again, you can tap that setting, bump it to 4K if you need to. Carbon copy. This one, New Deal Auto Sports. Oh yeah, right here. Check it out, Ruben Artiago. So I was looking here at the firewall. I think we saw that image in the last issue there with the stripe there. So I knew that was Ruben's Toyota. And shout out to Ruben. I talked to him on the phone yesterday. He gave me a shout. We were catching up. The Booka, as we call him on OLP. Here you got Shop Tour Rob Maggi. So I'm finally saying his name after all those years correct. A lot going on here. What was cool is, you know, this was the place to be in terms of custom vehicles. They did a lot. You'll remember the Sean Mahaney. We haven't gotten to it. Rest in peace to Sean. His under construction cover, I think, was shot right here. You can see some of the artwork in there. Some of the guys kind of hanging around. you know, obviously kind of a staged photo to say, all right, everyone stand here. We're getting ready to take this photo, which I think is awesome. Here you got Van Diemen. He's been on the podcast. We talked a lot of history. You'll remember in the Sean Mahaney cover with Under Construction, if I remember correctly, there's the Grim Reaper dude. Here you got Sean Mahaney. Speaking of him, rest in peace. And some more badassery going on. But Rob Maggi, I do need to link up with Rob to talk about, we've talked about, he sent me a ton of photos. He actually gave me some really good intel, some things I had forgotten, including was it an Impala that had a very similar paint job to Crew Cut. He sent me just a ton of gold. And Rob's a good dude. He's still on Instagram. He's kind of low key. And, you know, I don't want to give away his story. Once we can get him on, it'll be pretty cool, I think. One of the goats out there, one of the goat shops for sure. Check out that Mazda. Epic. But yeah, we appreciate you guys watching these all the way through. It helps us a lot. We're trying to get, again, the minutes watched up. You got to get to 4,000 minutes watched. Hidden secrets. Sometimes things are not as they appear. Tom Lutz and Mini Truckin staff. So that always irked me because it was like somebody maybe left and they just didn't want to put their name in there. I guess hypothetically maybe someone submitted them and they didn't know, but it's usually someone left. Johnny Garage Johnson, he loves these trucks. I do too. I talked about, I think when I had maybe him on, I always thought that was unique how the tailgate kind of went in there. It didn't look right how it butted up against the taillights, but I just thought it was cool for some reason. Super clean. Yep, V8 swaps back in the day before they were really, really popular. There was even that book that was published on how to do the 350 swaps, I think it was. So pretty cool. This is around the era that clear taillights started coming out. I had a set, the good set, I believe. Forget the OEM manufacturer, but I had a good set on my S10. I wish I still had them because they are worth money. I know on the Mazdas and stuff, they're kind of hard to find. Suicide Swing. So I always loved this. This was kind of a tease for what was to come. The Chop Shop hangs a set of doors. And you have this black and white photo, which I thought was awesome. Again, this was taken at the same time of the cover out in the desert there, as we read earlier. And check this out. So you basically have Courtney Halliwell, Tom Lutz, and the Chop Shop, Brian Gendro and team doing the damn thing. Pretty cool. Yesterday when I was going through the other issue, I think I said Sean Dell owned that shop. I think it was Tom. Was it not Tom? The guy that had the Astrovans back in the day. Murdo. I don't know how to say his last name. He might have been the guy that owned that shop. So if I said that wrong, I always assumed Crazy Customs with Sean Dell. And they may have even been partners at that time. I don't know. But I had read something ironically after I did that video. I was looking into something. Here you can see Ruben's engine right there. So pretty cool. This is Jet Jam again. We talked about this truck recently. Love that truck. Just a good blend of Mini Truckin stuff. And this show would have been a show that a lot of teens, including myself, would have loved to go to because I think they had like BMX stuff going on. They had, of course, the River Run aspect of it. And this epic Toyota. Seems like I just went through this issue, and am I wrong? What's so funny is maybe some of these trucks were in the last issue too, and it's just like deja vu. It really hit me because it seems like I just saw that truck recently, and then we just talked about this truck, so I think it was in other show coverage. But that's the I believe it was a full fiberglass bed, but I don't know what it was. That truck always stood out to me. It was kind of cool, something a little bit different. Those centerline wheels, love those things. Again, shaved body line on it, super clean interior, nothing over the top, but really didn't need it. And still, I think to this day, stuff lives on. If you look here, this was when Colorado Custom was really hitting the show circuit. They also came to Tampa. Ed Eister, shout out to Ed. He's a big supporter. Ed had reminded me they did come to Tampa like April 2000 or something like that. And I do remember seeing them there. I got a chance to see him at Texas Heatwave 01, and that's when they had the rig. And really a storied wheel company. I got a chance to visit the current ownership. Michael and his mother actually own it now. Shout out to Colorado Custom Wheels, still doing the damn thing. When I was in Anaheim a few weeks ago, I did go by there, and I did want to make a video. I didn't take a lot of video there. I took some photos, talked to Michael and his wife, and it was a good time. So here you go, X-Posure by Mike Shartsis, photography, Wes Allison, one of the GOATs. This is from an era when not every truck was body dropped, and guess what? They don't need to be, they didn't need to be, they don't need to be, all of the above. But Joe Musso, this thing was just truly awesome. If you look at kind of the whole thing, so, you know, I think of a 4Runner, you know, some of these parts, obviously, and the Toyota guys can rattle all the stuff off the top of their head, but I mean, we all look at that and go, yo, that's a, you know, 4Runner rear setup, which I think is amazing. I remember seeing the chassis go into shows and show coverage, and there was even, I believe, a photo where the truck was just the bare chassis. Well, it was totally done, engine in it, I believe, and the cab was off, and it had the primer bed sitting on it, and it was just like, wow, at a show. And, you know, some people would be like, well, they should have waited until it got done. And it was like, hey, showing all the amazing work done to it. My friend's dad had one of these trucks when I was a kid, and I just thought, you know, just the perfect mini truck, you know, in many ways. Very basic in many ways, but when you look at it, a little bit of the billet there, tons and tons of detail there, full painted frame. One fun fact, I've never told the story about the Street Trucks paint giveaway. I don't believe I did. And I believe there's a whole story behind it. I don't know that I'll ever share the whole story, but Musso Motorsports was where I believe we were supposed to meet when we went out to when we were going to be going to Vegas. And that's around the time, talking like 09, 2010-ish, I think, when things were starting to get really crazy with the economy and the paint job. It's a whole story. I don't want to say it didn't work out, but there's a whole story to it. And Musso Motorsports, I believe, again, is where I was going to be going. It's weird how things work out, and that didn't work out, and I was okay with it, and it worked out for the better. But again, maybe another podcast episode in the future. Here's beneath the bed of Musso's Mini, super clean, chrome rear axle. I mean, stuff that Mike Murray, the mayor, could only dream of on his Mazda. Exclusive Innovations Northwest. So shout out again to all the Northwest kinfolk. That amazing Mazda right there. I think I posted that one not too long ago. Maybe it was, yeah, Brian Kroll. Maybe it wasn't. So many badass Mazdas up there. Check that out. Tandems on the rise. Dimes on wires. Yoda's lifted. Just super sick. And that for a second almost looked like the MIC Mazda, but I don't think it is. Speaking of the MIC Mazda, I was able to confirm, and I always kind of thought I remembered, but the first Truck Trends, which became Custom Trucks Mag in Japan, that first issue, Mikado, I believe, shot it. That has the famous Mazda that was also on the cover of Mini Truckin'. Rob Maggi had confirmed recently, of course, you know, Sean Mahaney's customer. And, you know, they're working at MIC, and, you know, they built that thing with the third door, the Cab Plus, and it went overseas. And there is a guy, I tagged the owner in Japan that still owns it. Popped in my head there thinking of that purple Cab Plus. Super sick. My buddy David had one of these extended cabs in high school. His was, you know, not lowered or anything. He did have some kind of crazy offset wheels, which was kind of popular at the time. Maybe a tad little lift or lowering or leveling kit, but I spent a lot of time riding in those cabs. So this was Tom Lutz and Clint Walker shot this one, the Ultimate Low. Again, in an era when you didn't see a ton of body drops, especially in magazines. And this one, keep me honest, kinfolk, this one was the one that went on to be the cover that we just went over in, what, January? I think, if I remember correctly. I'm going by memory on the wheels. You would say, well, how was it on the cover already? Well, they could have taken these photos, 9 months earlier. But again, these were cool. I used to read these tech articles like, damn, who in the hell would cut their truck up like that? I just was some young kid from Land O'Lakes, didn't know how to really do much with any tools, was still learning at the time. And finally, I was relieved to find someone to say, yeah, we'll cut your floor out of your truck and body drop it. And that was Matt Torgerson, and of course my 9.4 S10. People don't realize I drove that thing. I dailied it a while bodied, but I did quickly end up with an Amigo, and that was my daily driver. And check this out. Salmon. I always say that word wrong. It was crazy driving that truck a lot. It was a lot of fun back in the good old days. Check that out. Tweed for days. I'll take it. I'll take tweed over almost anything. Maybe not leather, but you guys know tweed brings back the nostalgia. I was messaging with Joey recently. Shout out to Joey Romuto. He talked about how this truck, he did figure out eventually where it ended up, and changed up a little bit, but that was his truck. We had them on, him and Heather, last year in August to talk about the 20th anniversary, speaking about MIC, when MIC the crew cut was given away. Here's a badass truck, Rabid Dog. So, a lot of people look at these trucks as like Moz dogs. This one I posted recently, and I couldn't believe the amount of love that it got. I forget if it was an old Nopi photo, but this was Ryan Cochran. So some of you guys will remember this truck. The guys I was running with early in my days, Chris and Russ, they had reminded me, they saw Ryan when he redid this thing. I think it was chameleon paint. It had fast bags back when fast bags weren't really a thing. Here you can see some of the push button deals. I think he went with electric valves, maybe the first truck that some of my old friends saw with electric valves on it. But Ryan Cochran, I did tag him, I think, because someone tagged him. And he did chime in. I remember he was from West Virginia, and you can see that there. This was really, I think, a truck of epic proportions. And the cool thing was you had this version of it, and then again, it got redone. It had for those that don't recall, the topper was gone. It had the walkthrough, and then it had the seats in the bed. So it was pretty epic. And again, you can even look at it at this stage and go, man, it's a high-end mini truck build for this era. Really for any era, but, tip of the cap to Ryan Cochran. And good times. Got some of the Waza. Here you got Suicide Swing continuing. Again, you see the Chop Shop. Shout out to Gendro. I know that Gendro's busy. I am going to touch base with him to see if we can, link up on a time. He's heavy into the softball world with his family these days. I think his daughter possibly, but I know he's big in that stuff. Here is If I Live Till I Die, Wyatt Strange. Rest in peace, Courtney. He wrote under that moniker for a long time, and then Clint Walker did as well. You see Optima. I ended up getting an Optima battery around this era, 98, 99. I got a red Optima, and that thing lasted for years. Years and years and years. And I know some people hate on those batteries. They don't like them. They say they don't last these days. Maybe with an exception of like one over the years that I just let die down too many times. I've never had an issue with those things. They supported me on Bada Bing build, so I gotta give them credit there. This is TNT Automotive. We did see this in the table of contents as well. Waynesboro, Virginia. So again, they were popping off. Any of the guys will tell you from those areas that there's a lot of badass stuff. Here was Getting Plugged. This thing was a little bit different. I remember these, the plug wire deals. Something a little bit crazy. Probably a product that I wouldn't think is still around, but still kind of a cool. Again, if you haven't seen the new Clerks, I really liked it. Every time I get to this section, I always think Clerks. Tylene Buck ain't got nothing on me, and I'm not leaving until you take my photograph. Feature editor Clint Walker was always dreamed of being a cover model, as always. So there you see Clint. The other thing is Tylene Buck. She is she's very active on Instagram. So if you're looking for a lady, she's always out there doing the damn thing. And shout out to her, man. She was on some covers, including the Game Over OBS on the cover of Truckin. Really real deal, Holyfield. Looks like Chris Schmidt. Doesn't look like that anymore. We've all gotten a little older. Looks like him. We'll see him at Mini Nats next year. Here you got what's in the CD changer, Two Live Crew, LL, Cypress, one of my favorite groups. Here you go, Industry Look. You got the Index. You have Alarm Stuff, and then SPL 170. We saw that on the last one. So I'm going to try to flip this. And again, it's the first issue I have in the collection, technically now, that has the ripped cover. Is your cover ripped? I know it's very annoying, but don't let that get under your skin. It could be a lot worse. I have a couple, I think, without the cover. So imagine not being able to go over the cover. Not cool. Issue 75, Mini Truckin Magazine. Again, 5 of 9 for Budnick wheels on the cover truck. And beautiful model on the cover in the desert. Was it the dry beds? All right, y'all, stay on the rise. We out ya.